All right, guys, we're gonna go step by step on how to set up your blow hookah. Follow these steps and you will have lots of success. So I'm gonna unpack the hookah. The hookah comes in the stand. You got your hoses, your tanks, your tank covers. We'll get to the tanks, the tank covers, and then putting your hookah into the stand in a second. Your hookah will actually come somewhat charged. You can charge it fully when it comes out of the box. But for purpose of demonstration, we can just turn it on now. Sometimes you'll notice that it'll be sitting a little bit funny like this, and a lot of people have a hard time getting it in. I don't have any water around me, but if you just get a little bit wet, you see it pops right in, nice and straight. You won't be funny at all. All right, so now we're going to set up the hoses and the tanks. So one hose will go on each side. Just like so. Another hose goes on this side. Just like so. Now we're going to talk about the most important part of your hookah and its operating correctly, which is the tanks. All right. So most people will just set it up and then fly right through it and then turn it up to 6 and think it's going to work great. It's not. The voltage, this controls the voltage. Different tanks work well at different voltages. So our blow hookah tanks work ideally around 4.5, which doesn't mean you start off cranking them up to 4.5 right away. You want to start off at maybe 3, 3.5. First of all, you want to let them soak for, say, 15, 20 minutes, ideally. There's a little wick that's inside the middle of the tank, and that needs to get wet. Right now, it's very dry. So if it's dry and you turn it up to 4.5 right away, it can burn out the tank. If you ever taste a burning sensation, when you're taking a hit, it means that the tank could be burned out. And if you turn it down, it might solve the problem. But if the tank is completely burnt out from misuse, which is mostly the case, then you want to just throw away the tank. If you set up the tanks correctly, they can last you for weeks. I've had tanks last for months when they're set up correctly. So, right now it's soaking for a little bit. It should soak for 15 minutes, but we'll go a little bit quicker for purpose of demonstration. My favorite flavor, frosted cinnamon bun. You want to fill up the tank about 3/4 of the way, right? And you should have someone in your, on site every night that's, in charge of going through the tanks, making sure that they're hitting optimally, before the night starts. If your customers are having a good experience, then they're going to come back and be using the hookah more often. And one thing that's very important, when you're screwing on the tank, don't screw it on too tight, right? You just screw it on loose, maybe about 8 rotations. And then, when you start to feel it get a little bit tight, that's good enough, okay? You don't need to tighten. You tighten it too far, you mess up the ring that's on the inside of the hose, and you could actually ruin the hose and the tank. So that's very important. Now these tank covers slip right on, right over the tanks. And we have little stickers that we can put on the tanks as well to see which flavor that each tank is, so you can keep everything nice and organized. All right, so now we're going to get each tank primed. If I started up at 4.5, we would have had problems. I'm going to start off at like 3. Even though very little smoke is coming out, it's fine because the tank is just getting warmed up. You only have to do this on the first time. So on the first time, if you get your tank working properly, then it can last for a long time. If you mess it up immediately, then you're going to have problems. So I'm taking a few puffs at 3.6, 3.8. Four. Now remember, I didn't let the tank soak or else they would be hitting even more. And then you can gradually work your way up to, 4.5, 4.4. Perfect. So that tank is primed and it's good to go for a while. Now we're going to step on to how to put your hookah into the stand. Most of you are, 80% of our purchases are one level stands, so we'll do the demonstration on the one level, and I'll quickly show you how to throw it onto, how to put the one level onto two levels, in case that's what you purchased. Here's our one level stand. I'll teach you a few quick tricks on the controller, and we'll be done. All right, these little screws come out that are holding the acrylic top onto the base. So put those aside, don't lose those. Here is a power cord. I'll teach you a little trick with this in just 1 second. So we're gonna take our hookah out of the base. We're gonna put the base into the stand. We're gonna put the acrylic top back on over the base. So now I'm going to put the hookah back into the stand, right? So that cord that I was just fiddling through there, through the acrylic base, there's a hole in the back. That actually goes into the back of the hookah. The hookah is powering the stand, okay? You can also plug in the stand into the wall. Ideally, this is how you want to have it set up. You have the stand plugged into the wall, right? And then the stand will power, that will actually recharge the hookah. So it'll power the hookah and also keep it recharged. So the hookah by itself may run for 6 hours. The hookah powering the stand, you might only have about 2.5 hours. So I'm just gonna show you here real quick that if you have now the stand is plugged in, right? So the stand is working on its own power. And if I plug the power cord back into the back of the hookah, you'll see the flashing lights in the back of the hookah because the hookah is now charging. So now because the stand is plugged into the wall, it's powering and charging the hookah. So we'll put our little screws back in to keep the stand, the acrylic top back in place. And we'll show you a couple quick features. That'll be a wrap. All right, so one is your lasers. So the green button, you push for your lasers or your LED lights to come on and off, right? Might be a little bit hard to see in here in the light, but when you're in the club or in the dark atmosphere, you'll see them shooting up. One other important thing, the red button is for bottle service, or let someone know, your server know that you need attention or whatnot. So that's why we put that feature here, the red button. One important thing, when you get your controller initially, it has a little slide in the bottom of it. You pull that out, and then the battery is will be working. So now if you have the red button turned on, you won't be able to change any of the features of the stand. So the red button has to actually be off, and then you can control the different colors of the stand. Couple quick things on the controller. You can push the on button twice, right? And then that will actually turn on the sound sensitivity. Okay, so now I have the sound sensitivity on. We don't have any banging music going on right now, so you're not going to see it going on and off, but you see if I tap it. Now if we're in a really loud nightclub, look down here, here's the knob for the sound sensitivity by pushing the on button twice. If we're in a really loud, crazy club in LA, we turn it down. Why? Because if you turn it up way high, it's going to be going crazy because it's so loud and and nuts in there, and it almost looks like it's broken or it's missing a fuse. So we turn it down so it kind of goes with the deep bass. If you're at a country music dance along and it's not too crazy, you might need to turn it up in order for it to be grooving with the music. All your stands should work in sync, and we'll have an iPhone app that will be replacing the controller in the near future, so you can control all of your stands at the same time. All right, this really is a two-person operation. When you're setting up the 2 levels or 3 levels, you know, if you want 2 levels, you just take the bottom one off. Very simple. See how you have the 6 pieces in here? They need to match up the 6 pieces in here. And then there's one with 3 and one with 3. So once we put them together, I'm not going to be able to do this with one hand. Screw them together, and then everything will be functioning on 3 levels. You also have your power input on the bottom as opposed to the top, but your sound sensitivity will be at the top. Plug your hookah back in. Any other questions, please just call the warehouse. We'll walk you through it. Be careful with your tanks. Take good care of them, and they will last you a very long time.